Well, hey there.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vicki and Jenny, and good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Larry. We're talking about the construction around
Yeah,
the church. Exciting times.
So, gosh, we could be twins. I don't have the cool mustache coming down,
Well,
but
that's just nose hair.
maybe if I took the middle part and spread it out, that would. So you guys can't tell. Maybe you can. It's a little bit lighter in the studio. I should probably put my hat on. If the camera is, that really does make a difference, doesn't it?
It does, man.
I can't get my hat on straight. Washes out my whole face when I take the hat off. But we have a new window in the studio.
New windows all around.
Yeah, so coffee area, new windows. I didn't even think about the bathroom in there, but that's included in the windows.
Oh wow. Yeah.
He said, I'll put the blinds back up. And I said, well, I don't know. We might change them out. He goes, it's a bathroom. I said, oh, yeah.
Put the blinds back up.
Neighbors across the way might not like that. Good morning, Bethany. And then in this side of the building, we've got this one. And I keep forgetting the resource room has a window. So they did that. And then the one downstairs in the main office. The ones in the coffee area were a little tricky because cinder block with concrete. And so they had to do some extra stuff to that, and so that means, go ahead.
They told us when they started that you remove that batten board from the outside to expose all the surprises.
Oh yeah,
they got a pocket full.
Well, they had to. They just weren't thinking that they put the windows in, and I don't know if you guys have ever done windows. They have little flanges that normally you put the windows in when you build in a house, and then you put the outside siding on top of that. Well, with cinder block, you can't do that. So they actually cut out, I guess, in the cinder block, and the flanges were in the cinder block.
Oh wow!
But the windows, there's like a gap that much on either side, on both sides.
Okay. And
they took concrete and just smoothed it out. When they measured the windows, they didn't measure the cinder block opening. They measured the window opening with concrete. So that's why they had to put in the extra trim. Anyhow, there was some concrete grinding. Good morning, Beverly. Some concrete grinding that had to happen. And so if you come to church, we're doing, well, there's some here. We're doing the best we can to wipe everything down. But if you've ever done any kind of construction where you've done concrete grinding or saw or something like that, it's really fine dust that goes everywhere. Yeah. In fact, the coffee probably has a little extra flavor today. Yeah, I had to wash my cup out.
When Bev and I moved into our house in Sullivan Canyon, brand new construction, and I got some plywood and set up a table in what was going to be my studio, and I didn't like it. It was a little rough, so I got a belt sander and sanded it. Yeah, she was not amused.
Beverly.
She's still married to me though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Jim's like, we're really going to test this out. See, the guy that owned the company that I worked with when I was a contractor said, if you ever want to test your marriage, of course, this is back in the day when you had to mix the wallpaper glue.
Oh yeah.
And then spread it out on the wallpaper and then hang it up. He said, hang wallpaper with your wife. That'll test your marriage.
We haven't tried that. Building the house was fun though. We had people told us that'd be a trial, and then it was a good time.
Yeah,
she said, "Here's what I want." I said, "Okay."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, ma'am. That's the way it goes with weddings. Oh, good morning, Mike. Mike down in Alamogordo. He's gonna heat things up today down there. I bet I saw like 98 is the high for Alamogordo.
I like the way you type, Mike. Morning, fellers.
Yeah.
That fits.
Yeah. New Heart Cowboy Church is a good fit for him. I told him we've been friends for a while, so I can razz him in public maybe. I said, I don't know. He's from Oklahoma. I figured him more for a hick than a cowboy. He goes, oh no, I'm a cowboy.
Yeah, I'm from Oklahoma originally. Got to New Mexico too long for Oklahoma, or too soon for Oklahoma to really take seed, but born in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So fellers, that's the official Holy Kiss greeting down at New Heart.
Amen.
Yeah. Morning, fellers. Not gonna kiss you though. Shake your hand. So yeah, construction happening. We were just talking right before we came on. Oh, escaping the heat. Yeah, because it's cooler in Silver City. Actually, it looked like it might be a little cooler. Boomer sooner. You guys, hook 'em horns, I think is the way that goes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the big rivalry, Texas OU. Yeah. I actually worked in downtown Dallas, and we were in north downtown, the northern end of it. But the Texas OU game aftermath would spill over even.
Oh, really?
And ours was a 24-hour building. I worked security, 56 stories, and it was a 24-hour building, which meant you could not lock the doors.
Okay.
I mean, the front doors didn't have locks.
Right.
And so on the nights of the OU game, we had, it was only 2 of us for night security.
How many floors? 2?
56, but you only had to cover the first floor because that's where they could come in.
Oh, okay.
So he would stand, we'd take turns an hour on the desk or panel where all the monitors and stuff were, and then an hour on patrol. But for a good while, the hour on patrol was out in the main lobby where you could see both doors. Yeah. So anyhow, so construction happening. We're talking right before we came on.
Parking lot.
Yeah, parking lot stuff, and I didn't get too much into it. Matt was measuring. I told him I was glad he was doing the job, and it sounds exciting. Exciting stuff.
Changes.
Man, it'll really spruce up the outside of the church. Of course, the problem is we're looking at the windows down in the coffee area. They had to put trim in. Okay, so we're gonna have to paint the trim. Might as well paint the coffee area.
Paint the coffee area. Might as well redo that broken tile. Better that than that ceiling.
So yeah, that's one of those things. I was talking with David, the foreman for this job, and he goes, "Yeah, some of my projects go into a year." I said, "A year? It takes me 10 years, and by the time I'm finished, I got to redo what I started." Morning, Jose.
Like painting a bridge. By the time you get to the end, the beginning.
Just start back again. So that it's exciting. It's really gonna look good outside, and Matt, like I was telling you, I'm sure Angela will tell us the rest, but. Matt had some good ideas on stuff to do outside. So what's in a name, Jim?
Man, I'm telling you, everything is looking at change. And I was looking for James Sunday, so it was a pleasant surprise that you reinforced the idea that we need to think about a name change. That's cool.
Only because we're doing the surveys. And then just talking with people realized I needed to answer 2 big questions.
Yeah, and you did well on both of them, I think.
Well, thanks. One of the ones that I really wanted to make sure that I answered was a name change for a church. We're not changing theology. We're not changing doctrine. We're not changing denominations. We're still Southern Baptist. In fact, so I'll give you guys a little preview. I haven't heard back. I'll ask him today. Ask the guy who's over missions for our state convention if he could get me the names of the church plants in New Mexico for the last 20 years.
Gotta tell you, I got on the net and looked up most successful churches currently in the United States. And I got a list, and through the first 40 of them, there were 2 that had the word Baptist in them, 1 that had the word Methodist in them. Everything else was by this is what we do, or this is where we're at. And so that's the current trend.
And I understand for, I say my generation, I'm the upper edge of the Xers. You're a boomer. You're a boomer sooner, apparently. Yeah. I understand that. Particularly for boomers, and I can't speak for all Xers because I'm at the top end, so I don't know. Benny Tapia he's a younger Gen X, so I should ask him. But for boomers and Xers my age, I can understand we would say, why the need for a name change?
I think you did a good job approaching that
Yeah.
too. If it can bring one person to the inside,
Mhm.
to fellowship,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's worth the effort.
Well, we get it. My age and older, we get it when we see First Baptist Church. Now we may not know what. Let me backtrack just a little. 50 years ago, which used to sound like a long time until I realized that. Well, we'll go back 40 years ago. That I was a Christian 40 years ago. So 40 years ago, Baptist churches mostly were the same.
Okay.
From one Baptist church to another, they did communion the same. They did the offering the same. They had Sunday school.
You're just talking Southern Baptist?
Southern Baptist. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Southern Baptist. I forget that. There are over 200 Baptist denominations. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew there were a lot. I
Yeah.
knew there were Baptist denominations that were not Southern Baptist.
Right. So in Southern Baptist, if you went to a Southern Baptist church, it was pretty much the same from one to the other. You could, in 1982, when I became a Christian, you could just bet either 9 or 9:30 was Sunday school, 11 o'clock was the morning worship service. You come back at 4 or 5, they probably had youth choir, discipleship training union, whatever they called it.
Royal Ambassadors.
Oh yeah, RAs, GAs. I forgot about that. For the kids, it was RAs, GAs, ACT Teens, and Mission Friends. And then for the adults, it was discipleship training or training union. That I don't know when that change actually happened. Wednesday night, if the church was large enough, they would do a meal, and then you would have a kids program, and then you'd have an adult prayer meeting, Bible study, and usually choir practice. I mean, I was at a really large church in North Thurston Hills Baptist Church. I say that I didn't realize everything was big in Texas. So, but 200 in the youth group, and thinking back, the sanctuary was ginormous. I mean, I don't know if they had a few thousand members. So for 200 in a youth group, that's pretty big. But even they were the same. I mean, Sunday nights we'd go to youth choir, and then we would have our youth discipleship. The adults had discipleship. I don't remember, because I was youth there, if they did RAs and GAs, but I know the church that I was at when I became a Christian that summer in Sulphur Springs, East Texas, they did. So anyways, it was pretty much the same. I mean, the way they did things, pretty much the same. That was in the 80s. In the 90s, things began to change. In the 80s, RAs, GAs, ACT Teens, and Mission Friends was the children's and youth program for the most part. A larger church, like I said, I don't know if they did that or not. We had youth group, but then in the 90s, children's ministry began to come into its own. Men's ministry and women's ministry moved away. So I said all that to say, 40 years ago, you knew pretty much what you're getting with a Baptist church.
The label represented what happened inside.
Yeah, it was reflective of who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you knew. Nowadays, Southern Baptist churches are so different from church to church that label doesn't help a lot. Now it does help, that their statement of faith is the Baptist faith and message. Right. That the way they do missions is through the cooperative program for the most part. I'm sure, I don't know, I've been here so long, but I'm sure other Southern Baptist churches support missionaries also independently, but that's our huge distinctive as a Southern Baptist Convention, is the way we do missions. But other than that, it changes. I mean, from here to Mayhill, there's a huge difference. Yeah. We High Rolls, Bethel. I'm not real familiar with First in Alamogordo anymore. So for our age and older, or my age and older, that makes sense. What's really fun is where First Baptist Church, the name came from. And the reason I put all that kind of those weird, one person told me that questionnaire was hard, is because I want us to understand how the name First Baptist Church came about. So back in the day, if they had, I'm absolutely convinced it's an 1800s convention name. I'm absolutely convinced if they didn't have to worry about another Baptist church coming in, it would have been the Baptist church.
Or a Baptist church, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just Cloudcroft Baptist Church.
Well, I'm surprised in the present day, it doesn't seem that for me, and I was surprised that it is, I didn't think it was that important. I thought, all you need to do is change your name address. There's a bunch of other stuff that need to be changed if you change your name. So it's going to be some work. But as far as what's hanging out front, as long as it's not Satan's den of unbelievers,
Well, so for our generations, what was kind of hard to say. Okay, our generation. So if we just moved to town, and I'll use a name that we'll never. This is not on the table to pick. Okay. So don't worry. So I'm going to use a name that we cannot do.
It'll be the new idea.
So if we came into town and there was Backrub Church of Cloudcroft, Backrub was the original name for Google, by the way. There's a reason you didn't know that, because Backrub
didn't work
as a search engine. It
or a church.
Well, for the weird nerdy computer guys who started it, and I love it that one of them, his name's Larry, one of the two main guys, Larry and Sergey, who started Google, but they started it as Backrub because of the way that they did the algorithms for the search engine would do the back lists. And so that they all, I'm sure they snickered, it's funny. And all their nerdy computer guy friends thought, this is great. It didn't catch on because, I don't know what it was like in 1996. I know I never looked for backrub.com. I told my story about the Passion conferences, which is a collegiate conference. And the student leader who told me that said, but don't go to passion.com. I'm like, wouldn't have entered my mind. That sounds scary, So people, it didn't catch on. They had to change. But so if we came to town, it was Backrub Church. We would have to find out. So what kind of church is that?
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, first of all, that's such a weird name. You wouldn't see me here.
I could see that there's a million bad names, and I could see that there's a million good names. But if you make that distinction and choose from the good names, I'm surprised that it makes a difference to people what the good name is, whether it's name A or name B. You said it was going to be a big deal, and I thought, okay, whatever. And people are honestly considering it hard. When we said replace the windows, it was like, got the money? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Change the name? What?
Yeah. And it is what we want to do. What we want to do is have, and it doesn't matter so much to my generation and older. So my generation and your gen, it matters that we change the name. But for us, Cloudcroft Baptist Church is fine. First Baptist Church is fine. We get it. For millennials and younger, and we're looking to the next generations, for millennials and younger, their First Baptist Church means nothing to them. Right. Now, if they grew up, I was talking with someone who grew up in Alabama and a Baptist church, so they're looking for a Baptist church. But that may be an outlier. Certainly is going to be with Gen Z, because we have I don't know if you guys have heard of this term, but the rise of the nuns. That almost sounds like we're going to get attacked by a bunch of Catholic ladies in a convent. That's not the nuns. It's NONES. That the overwhelming majority of people in the U.S. today have no religious affiliation.
You want some heresy?
Yes.
Changing the name of the church might draw a couple people. changing the attitude of the church to get out of the building and into the community, I think would change more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What Gen Z particularly, and that's who I'm kind of looking at, because the millennials are going to be the establishment soon, and so they'll be. We need to teach them. We need to teach the millennials how to hand the church off to the next generation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What Gen Z and it's to a good extent the millennials are the same. They're looking for purpose in a church, and so if our church name can reflect who we are, we also need to be out in the community. More people come from personal invitation than anything else.
Well, inside that building restricts our purpose.
Yeah.
That you can only do so many things from inside the doors.
Yeah. If you can, and that goes more to just the name change. The name change is a small part of this big thing.
Yeah.
That the other thing is we need to be really good, and I'm the primary person who has to do this, really good about communicating who we are, what we're called to do, and how we're called to do it.
Yeah.
And if we can get that across to Gen Z particularly,
then
that will resonate with them, and the name has to go. Yeah, because that was a big idea. Our name reflects who we are, and so we could be absolutely great reaching out in the community, and we'd have to really work hard to get over the hurdle of back row church.
Yeah. Well, you said First Baptist Church, to the people who recognize what that name means, we're not a country club church. And to people who don't care, the name means nothing. Why not put a name out there that does mean something?
Yes.
That draws them in.
Yeah, have a name that means, and the hard thing is we're not looking for our generations. That's a hard thing for me, because for up until just recently in my ministry, started as a youth minister in 1987. In my ministry, it was reaching my generation.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm 10 years younger than I should be, because I took the 60s off.
Oh, okay. Well, you've told me, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there, and that's true. I was born in 67. I don't remember any of the 60s. I think Bethany's 4 years behind me or so. So she wasn't even around. So she might remember the 60s. I don't know. But anyway, so that's what that, and it's a discussion, we need to have, and you hit on it. Here's the best outcome, I think, for the people who are here right now in a name change for our church. It forces us to think outside the walls.
Ooh, yeah.
But because we would resist a name change for us because of us. We would be open to a name change for us because of them.
If that was our primary concern.
Yeah. It forces us to think outside the walls of the church. And you've hit on this a whole lot, and we've got to start planning some of this. It's, I think, a little too late for Lumberjack Day.
Step at a time.
But for next year, we've already got them on the calendar. She doesn't remember the 60s. You remember reading about them at least, don't you? She wasn't around in the 60s. She's a whole lot younger than I am.
You can still buy Beatles albums.
Yeah. I'm further down the road, but she can see me from where she is. That's the thing. So we're already starting to put it on the calendar, but we just have to do that. I mean, we both of us love this idea, and I think we could really get people to do this. Just getting, and I did find out that the chamber still will give nonprofits 50% off the deal for a booth, which is nice.
Yeah.
But to be at the events now, we may not do the beer fest or the wine festival.
A little tougher.
I won't for sure, because I'll step in a hole and fall, and then the rumors will go flying. Pastor Larry was drunk, and so but the other community things like that, to have a presence, and even if it's need prayer and handing out bottles of water. I like the idea that we've talked about of having a banner that says, "What's your story?"
Oh,
And just grabbing people and say, "Hey, we're just asking people, so what's your story? Tell me about your faith background or your faith journey, where you are, you know."
that would even help solidify what the name is. Does it represent the people that we're getting stories from?
Yeah, yeah. But just to ask them, you know, I haven't had a chance to do this, but we talked about in the men's Bible study, you know, to pick a day. I'm
Oh,
almost never down there by myself anymore, but when I'm down by at Walmart by myself, um, and see the dude who's usually at the corner there, go to Burger King, get a meal for him and a meal for me, and come sit down and hand him a meal and say, "Hey, I brought you lunch. Tell me your story."
yeah. Would you mind?
Yeah, just tell me your story.
Yeah,
Because everybody's got a story.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And not just the people who are on the down and out. But so, anyways, that to me, that's one of the. Now that's not the best reason for the name change. The best reason for the name change is so we can be a church for the next generation. But the best thing that I think it'll do for those of us who are here is to force us to think outside the walls.
Yeah. And it's timely with the construction stuff. We're talking about getting a new sign. Sure be nice if
Mike actually called me last week. It was almost like, you know, he heard, because he kept saying, "Man, I need to."
well, he came up to the front door the other day. And I
Oh,
said,
did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
And I said, you know, we're thinking about changing the name. He said, just call me.
yeah. I talked with him some, and I said, "You'll know as soon as we do." I said, but you know, we can still talk about ideas. And I told him that we want to keep the Circle Cross logo, and then whatever else we do in there.
You're probably catching this, but we took the wood off the side of the building, gave it to Mike, who is a sign builder, and for the old wood, which he uses for other things, he's going to make us a sign, not with the old wood.
Yeah, I had to make that distinction. Someone said, "Oh, that'll be great." I said, "Whoa, no." He's actually looking at a medium that they've only been working with for about a year or so. He's got some ideas. So the circle cross is the part of the logo. I just want to keep. This was so cool. I had this idea in my head, and Jim made it come alive on paper.
Well, we worked together over a couple of weeks and came up with it.
Yeah, and then I did the lettering, and Jim goes, "I can make that much cooler."
We worked together.
Because my lettering wasn't near as cool as that. But so keep the Circle Cross logo, and you know, whatever name we end up with, and I've had people say, "So do you have any ideas?" I said, "Well, yes, I do, but I don't want to say them. I mean, I want to. What if I said my ideas, and so people thought, well, he already has an idea. We're not going to give him ideas, and we missed the best name ever."
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
you talked about soliciting ideas from people for name change. That'll be cool.
And so I kind of did that with the first survey. We're going to do another survey. We can talk about the questions that we want to ask on it today, but another survey where people give ideas for names. And there is work. I don't know if I mentioned it on Java and Jesus or with you guys, but I was at youth camp this past year, summer. It feels like a year ago. In June, I was at youth camp and talking with a guy. It's Restoration Church in Clovis.
Oh, that's neat.
And so when they say, you know, I met him and said, what church are you with? He said, well, Restoration Church in Clovis, formerly whatever it was, and formerly whatever it was. That church has changed name 4 times in the last 10 years. And he goes, and I just found out before I left that none of that was legal. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you know, we're incorporated. You gotta go back and change all that. So yeah, there's more there.
Yeah, I was talking to Beverly. She said, and then there's letterhead, and there's that.
Letterhead's not a big deal for us. That's a paper change because we print our own. The legal stuff is to me the thing. But
yeah, is it worth the work to draw somebody to Christ?
Yeah.
And
absolutely it is. Yeah. But in there we'll want to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. I don't want to be like my brother in Clovis. So we've been.
Yeah, we're so-and-so church. No, you're not.
I'll tell you what that reminds me of. When Cynthia and I first got married, we got married at the end of the year, December 30th. And it wasn't very long before we filed for income tax, you know. And we did, and we get the letter from the IRS, which you never want to get. A check, we want the check. But you get a letter from the IRS saying, for her, this name doesn't match this social security number. We're like, oh no, we forgot to change her social security card. And all the things that you do when you get married, because she was she was going to finish her last semester of college student teaching. So we got married in December so we would be in Mesquite, be married in Mesquite, where she could student teach and maybe get a job. She ended up getting a job in Grand Prairie, but so that part didn't work. But student teaching in Mesquite, so all that stuff. So she's mid her last senior year, getting married, moving, getting ready to student teach, and all that stuff. We just forgot the so we get the scary letter from the IRS because you just don't want. I just want everything to go smooth. Don't call attention to the IRS at all. And then we go to the Social Security office, and if you don't know the story, Cynthia was born in Germany. Her dad was in the Army.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't a base hospital, so she was born in a German hospital, which made her a dual citizen.
Yeah.
So the Social Security Administration says, well, you hold dual citizenship. You were supposed to declare that when you were 18. You need to declare citizenship before we can change your name. We're like, calling Cynthia's dad, help. You retired as captain, major. He retired as major. So he knew that just means you guys know how to work the paperwork. And so you had to call and request a form to request something that they would send you another form. And you know how that kind of goes in the military. You were Army too first.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it reminds me of. We don't want that as a church. We want to make sure that we have all that kind of stuff. Do it
once, do it right.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff covered. We don't want to go a year or two down the road and say, be like my poor brother. You're calling yourself Restoration Church, but legally you're, probably First Baptist Clovis. I don't know. But I'm excited. The main reason, and I didn't get this across, I don't think, Sunday morning. It's not that I don't like the name First Baptist Church. I mean, it's neutral for me. You know what I mean? Same. But I'm excited at the engagement that we can get from the people in our church.
I'm excited that people are engaged.
Mm-hmm. And pressing in with a younger. I keep saying millennials, and I have to be careful because I've talked with several of them in our church, and they almost take that as a derogatory term. In fact, one of them really quick said, "But we're not your typical millennial."
And I've heard that from a bunch. I guess people don't like to be buttonholed into you're a so and so. No, I'm a me.
Yeah, yeah. But that age group, but for me, because that's the next generation from mine. Yeah. Bringing that next generation into leadership in the church, and then the hard part is going to be kind of saying, all right, this is your area of responsibility, and then letting them do it, because we know they're going to do it differently than we would have. We'll close with this. Gosh, we've gone over. I
just hope they ask us to play.
Yeah, let me be a part of it. So here's
Did we go over?
Yes. Here's an anecdotal kind of thing. So have you ever, I'm sure maybe you're really cool. You've probably heard of this. There is a soda called an Olipop. Hope's been drinking them for a good while, an Olipop. And I'm just like, here, Dad, try it. It sounds like a lollipop to me, an Olipop. And it's actually like an apple cider vinegar soda, which does not sound appealing at all. Yeah. Well, Hope and I were somewhere, and she had a root beer Olipop. And I took a drink, and I'm like, this is some good root beer. So I started looking. This is a soda, okay? 35 calories,
Not bad.
No, it was
for a
like
soda.
250 or
Yeah.
something, I think, for soda, a regular soda. 35 calories, 2 grams of sugar.
And it tasted good.
Oh, yes, yes. It's probiotic, so helps your tummy health. And 9 grams of fiber. That is the same amount as a Fiber One bar. That, you know, the bar that's made. So I'm like going, so this thing tastes good.
And it's good for
I love
you.
root beer. I love root beer. Yeah, and it actually is healthy for you.
Oxymoron.
2 grams of sugar,
Yeah.
35 calories total. I'm like, where have you been all my life? All that to say, I pushed back. That's a Gen Z thing. That's not my deal. Ugh, you know, no way. I don't. Because she also likes bubbly or whatever that
Bubbly.
lightly.
No, he's the singer.
Yeah. He wants us to call it bubbly. The little lightly flavored carbonated. I drank one of those and I'm like, just give me water, you know. So I pushed back on that so hard and then tried it. And that's like my new favorite drink. In fact, just for my health, I'm drinking one of those every day.
Wow.
I know, right? I feel good about it.
Yeah, stepping forward into the unknown sometimes pays off.
Still makes me burp like any old root beer.
Any good root beer
like
should.
Any old root beer. So as we hand the church off to the next generation, I need to remember it might be different. It might sound weird. The word Olipop for a soda, I'm like, what is it, like, you know, cherry flavored? I mean, like a lollipop. But to go ahead and embrace it, and I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Well, like you say, in an individual life, look for the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
What's it producing?
Yeah. So anyhow, let me pray for you guys. Thanks for hanging in. Boy.
Oh man, sorry about that.
It flew by.
We do that.
We'll have to start asking questions at some point. But maybe we can do that next week. We are going to get into James, but that was the reason that I went back. I realized, you know what, I left 2 big questions unanswered. Why the name change, and
does it change your doctrine?
No, we're Southern Baptist, and I'm not ashamed to be Southern Baptist. There are some slight subtle changes in the Southern Baptist Convention, so I don't know what that means in the years ahead. But my big thing for any change is give me the compelling reason. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have one to change denominations, and it's the best mission sending agency in the world. I mean, why wouldn't we want to be a part?
Yeah, it's doctrinally sound.
Yep. So. Even if the Southern Baptist Convention went whack, and I don't see that happening, probably not in my tenure here. But even if a church felt like they needed to pull out, I would say don't let the Baptist Faith and Message 2000 be your statement of faith. I know an independent Baptist church that was their statement of faith.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm like going, what? This is the Baptist Faith and Message. He said, well, yeah. I mean, why redo something? You know, it's good. So anyhow, well, let me pray for you guys. Sorry for the glare.
Paraglare.
Maybe because I'm closer to the light, but man, and that head doesn't get to see much sun. So let me pray for you. Lord, thank you for your love. Thank you for God using us. You don't have to, but for reasons that you choose to use us to take the gospel to a world who desperately needs it. And God, we pray that you would position our hearts to be able to do that well. God, lead us, guide us. My prayer more and more, Lord, is give us the wisdom to know what to do and the courage and the boldness to do it. And I pray that, God, as you do, you draw people to faith in Christ. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks, guys, for hanging in there. And we will see you. I can click all the right buttons. We'll see you on Friday. I think Paul's gonna be around.
Cool.
So